Okay, so welcome to Scholarship Roadmaps. This is a session brought to you by Global Wins. This is going to be one of those sessions where after all of the Achieving Application session we've been running for the last 2 months, we are apparently going to pay attention to other scholarships beside the Achieving Scholarship. And other scholarship besides Achieving Scholarship can be school-based, it can be departmental-based, it can be course-based, it can be MSc-based, it can be US-based. But today's focus is on US-based MSc and PhD scholarships. We know that the United States is a hotspot destination for lots of people who are looking for fully funded research assistant role, graduate assistant role, teaching assistant roles, etc. We also know that the choices may vary from MSc to PhD. And we know that these things are easier and better if there is someone who has done this thing before, showing us how you can do it. Saves you too much scattered search. It helps put your search together and helps you focus better. So today I have Eunice Babatunde Tolani. She says my jokes are dry, but she has been my friend for about 3 to 4 years now, and we've been talking here and there, and I've been telling her, oh, Eunice, I would like you to come show the people how to put all of this together. So without wasting any time, I'm going to be bringing up Eunice. Eunice, good morning. It's great to have you. Can you turn on your cameras and say hi to the people as we get started?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to just turn my camera.
Exactly.
Okay. Hi everyone. It's great to be here, even though I look like I'm outside.
Yeah,
Anyways,
looks like any temple. I don't know where that is.
well, that's like an arc in my school. It's like one of the places people take pictures. Anyways, it's really lovely to be here, and I'm also grateful for the privilege to just share my experience and speak to everyone about the little things that I know and the little things I've seen as this journey of my master's slash PhD has continued or progressed. And I hope that you can get something beneficial from this session. Are we still doing introduction?
Yeah,
Or it's time to continue the rest?
we're still the introduction. So
Okay, so I've
that's fine.
introduced myself. Thanks.
Thank you. But we'd like to get to know what program you're working on in your university, and if you could just tell us a bit about that briefly.
Well, that's part of my slides. If I tell you all of that now, I've taken away 2 slides.
Do you still want to do your what's it called? Your icebreaker?
Oh yeah, I want to hear like from everyone and just more or less get a perspective of the people that are in the room and understand where everyone's mindset is. In the sense that how interested are you in pursuing admissions in the US? Would you be looking at resuming in the fall of next year, or is just something you're keeping on the back burner, just like a nice to know kind of thing? And your name and your background. I think that's fine. So let's
Okay.
start with name and background before we answer the other two.
All right, fantastic. So everyone, icebreaker, let's get typing in the chat box. How interested are you in an MSc in the US? Name and background first. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think everyone has the ability to unmute themselves.
Yes, yes, yes. I think that right has been
So we'll
given.
just go one after the other.
I will be calling on Victory. Hi, Victory. If you can hear randomly.
Hi, Martin.
Great. So, looking to pursue an MSc in the US, what's your background and what are you looking at?
Okay, my background is financial technology. So it's a pursuing an MSc in the US is something I would if the opportunity comes. I don't know, but
So
yeah, but my
actively
background,
pursuing or just passively pursuing?
um, currently I'm not actively pursuing, but I just started opening my mind to the US. I've mostly been focused on the UK, but I'm just recently opening my mind to the US. So I hope to actively start pursuing it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victory. That's good. Nice to know that you are in fintech and you are very much accustomed to the UK. I think for me, for my MSc, I wasn't even looking at the US. I was just focused on the UK, right? I know a lot of us are like that, and that's not bad at all, right? All right, next person I'll be calling would be, maybe randomly, would be Damilare Ojo or Anna, any one of you that can speak. No, Damilare, you must speak. You cannot come and type in my chat box, in my inbox. You have to say hi. I need to hear that voice today. Just say hi, at least. And if I see your text, educational political science, interested in edu-tech, industrial instructional design, innovation. Okay, looking to do the US University in the fall of 2025. Okay, fantastic. Anyone else wants to go? Since Damilare is sending me private messages to beg me to not draw his leg out. Feel free to unmute your mic and speak or raise your hand. Okay,
Yeah,
Miracle.
let's all speak so that it can be exciting. Because if everybody's typing in the chats, might as well just go home.
All right, let me
Right.
go. Good evening, everyone. Omolasho. Background, yeah. A corporate performance analyst. So basically data analytics, business analytics. Just like Victory, but not this time. My focus hasn't really been in the UK. My focus has been like Canada. So sometime this year, I was actively pursuing that, just applying to schools in Canada. But I figured that in terms of scholarship, I would have more opportunities in the US. So when I saw this session on the group, I'm like, this is a good opportunity to even like get more information about the US process. So yes, I'm actively pursuing, but I've just been focused on Canada. So now I'm looking at the US for more opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Omolasho. Yeah, I think a lot of people whose attention is not actually, like I said, focused on the US. I think that's why we need to have these kind of conversations. Hi, Michelle. Your mic is unmuted. You want to say something?
So good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Michelle Eromansele, and I am a communication strategist and a project manager. But I just concluded, or I'm concluding my master's program in communication and media by December 2024. And I think I fell in love with academics and all there is, because I left school a long time ago, but I came back this year. So I'm thinking if I could do like a PhD in developmental communication or something that has to do with like, working with bringing about a change in society, because that's currently what I do for a living. So I work with like non-profit organizations, and I'm thinking to further my education, maybe do a PhD in something around communication or change communication, social change or developmental communication, something around that. Thank you.
All right, Mitchell, that's really great. That's exciting. I mean, you're already doing an MSc. I don't know why you say you love academia, but I think some people really do love academia. I know that's not me. That cannot be me. I cannot be the one that love academia like that. In short, the MSc I did, I was asking the Holy Spirit, did you send me this work? Or did I just ask myself to come and kill myself by myself? Because I was really doing all right. I was doing okay. I mean, but yeah, I see people do one MSc, two MSc, three MScs, and PhDs, which is fantastic. All the best to all of you in that particular train. Who else wants to tell us something about where they are actively in pursuit and all of that? Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Miracle, and actively pursuing looking at the US for master's or PhD around environmental management, environmental sustainability. Yep.
Environmental management and environmental sustainability. That's actually around. That's not the specific, is it?
Yeah, around that. Sorry,
That's fine.
But what's in the middle? If that's around, what's in the middle?
why I said around that is because sometimes for the courses I see, it's not specifically saying environmental management. It's just like that term and additionals with it. That's why when I meant around, it might not be specifically me seeing a school that is having environmental sustainability. It can just be environmental management and sustainability. So they always have like additions. Some schools have it plainly like that. That's what I meant by around that. So yes, it's centered on environmental management.
All right, that's fantastic. I think we can take maybe 2 or 3 more persons. Eunice, what do you think?
Yeah, 2 or 3 more, and then we have some responses in the chat, but I already read them, so, and because they did not speak, we won't leave it up.
All right, no problem. Who's going to be the next
Hello.
person? Is that?
Hello, this is Ishmael. Greetings, everybody.
All right, Ishmael, greetings.
All right, I hope we're all doing great.
Yes,
So I am a psychologist by profession. Yeah, but currently pursuing a degree in biomedical sciences at the University of Zambia. Yeah, but of course, well, with an absolute interest to venture into the world of microbiology, public health, infectious diseases. But of course, what really just intertwines all those aspects for me would be bioinformatics and genomics. Yeah. But of course, I'm actively searching for opportunities. If the US works out, why not? If other opportunities and other doors open up elsewhere, the UK and all that, I mean, why not? So pretty much that. Thank you.
Oh, that's pretty decent. Well done. That's a very interesting field. Bioinformatics, etc. Okay, cool. One more person. Zachary Bihi.
Good evening, sir.
All right, please tell us.
My name is Shukriya. Good evening, Mr. Martin, and Ernest also. I have a degree or a bachelor's in accounting and finance. Now I am actively pursuing a master's in public policy and management. So I participated in the Chiefing boot camp. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm actively pursuing, but I want to also focus on the opportunity in the USA. So I have applied to one university so far, and I am planning to apply the GFE also, and it is 3 courses. So that's it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. Eunice, I want to throw this out. Like basically, I think then we can go straight into today's content. There is this idea that it's usually good to move straight from BSc straight to PhD, right? And then some people also think it's good to have like some advanced level of studies, like an MSc before going straight into a PhD. In your experience, right, how did your MSc prepare you for your current PhD? What position do you favor?
For me, the intention wasn't to go into a PhD from the beginning.
Okay.
Right. I always thought about, even if I ever had to teach, it would be like my retirement plan. It's still my retirement plan if I have to teach in a university. But I liked the research I was doing. I've always liked research. And so when I saw that, I have the opportunity to continue doing the work that I have been doing and then make it better, because an MSc is like 2 years. The PhD gave me 3 extra years, or will give me 3 extra years to continue the work that I've been doing before, right? And the program I'm in now has like a commercialization aspect. So I can go ahead and start a business based off the products of my research, right? And so that was something that was important for me when I was deciding to do a PhD. But again, like I always say about everything, the decisions you make would depend on the goals that you have. What is your goal? What is the big picture that you have? Are you someone that just says, well, I'm only looking to go to school because I want an advanced degree, but I don't necessarily want to be entrenched in research, right? Then you might just do a master's. And even your master's might not even be research-based. It might be just like a project-based master's. Then if you're someone that likes research, you might say, okay, I have the resilience to keep going into a PhD, right? And so your MSc can prepare you for a PhD. And again, depending on the school, depending on the program, the situation will be different. My PhD is a 3-year program minimum, or this program was structured that you can complete in 3 years. But in some other schools, you would only, like, you use a minimum of 4 years to finish your PhD program. So if you do a PhD straight from MSc, right, that could be 5 years and you're done. But if you do an MSc first, and then you say, okay, I want to now do a PhD as a second step, then you can spend 6 years, 7 years in your entire graduate school journey. So you need to ask yourself, how much time am I devoting or committing to this venture, right? Is this something I'm willing to do? Because trust me, there will be many frustrations along the way. There will be many times when you reconsider, even especially in the beginning. Like you said earlier, who sent me here? Am I really sure that I'm supposed to be here? You will question it. And the worst part is if you've been out of school for a while, you're not coming straight from, undergrad where your blood is too hot. You've done NYC or something. You spent maybe 2 years working in industry. Some people have even spent 4 years, 5 years. You just be like, why am I reading books anymore? So you need to be sure that your goals would be properly outlined so that you can have the right motivation to keep going and to keep weathering every storm that might come along your way. So there is no specific right answer. It would all boil down to what are you trying to achieve. So if you know, okay, I need a PhD because I want everybody to call me doctor, but I want to do it quickly. You can, sharply go and say, okay, from BSc straight to PhD. Yes, you will cry tears because every PhD person cries tears. That's standard. But you know that you might get your degree faster than someone that did 2 years MSc and maybe spent another 1 year thinking about it before they started a PhD program, and then they have to do 4 or 5 years. And then the amount of time you even spend in a PhD program also depends on who your advisor is. If your advisor is a let my people go person, you might go early. If your advisor says you must satisfy me before you leave this place, then there are the chances that your research would nearly reach perfection before they can let you graduate or before they give you permission to say, okay, you have done satisfactory work. But then that's the thing in research. Every answer is the beginning of another problem, right? So it's a vicious cycle. It's not like you won't get achievements or you won't make progress, but sometimes your progress will seem like you're going backward because you constantly have to reassess your methods. And there's a lot of reading involved, right? You have to read what have other people done before you can even say, okay, I want to continue or I want to build upon what they've done. So in summary, to answer your question and to capital, it depends on your goals as an individual. That will determine the route you take.
All right, thank you very much for that. I think that's really, really correct because the entire goal for a PhD is like adding to a body of knowledge, and you have a burning question or maybe an interest area for research that you want to further on, and then you still have like the time trade-off of time. So moving straight in and all that. I think that's really, really interesting. But I think the part that gets to me is the rigor required, right? The rigor required for the quality of critical thinking that a PhD is supposed to produce. And then I see like PhD results or project work that are released which most supervisors agree can be very boring to read because, I mean, an MSc dissertation is a minimum of, say, average of 10,000 words, and the PhD is way more than that, right? And for 4 years. And then they now say pass with minor corrections and all of those kind of stuff. And then that tells you, man, you need to do the work. And then you need to ask yourself if this is what you want to do at this time. Because I think there are also people who start the process but are unable to finish because they might fail it or funding might be cut. A lot of things might go wrong. They may realize that the research area is not something that they are really interested in. It's not really motivating for them. And they just wanted any opportunity to jump into the next PhD ship. But I know you have all of these things wrapped up for us today. So everyone, welcome. And this is Scholarship Roadmaps with Eunice Babatunde. She's going to be walking us through what you think about when you're thinking about anything fully funded MSc, PhD, focused in the US, and she's going to walk us through our own journey. Eunice, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martins.
Right.
Okay, let me start with my slides.
I think his resume. All right. Okay, cool. We can see slides now.
I'll put it here. All right. Want to hide it.
Yep.
How do I hide it?
What are you hiding?
I'm hiding the control panel because it's blocking my screen.
You just need to.
Anyways, so back here, welcome everybody to this presentation. And like I said earlier, I hope that you get some value from everything that I have to say. I tend to talk a lot, so I hope I can keep the time. So help me God, amen. Today I'm going to just give a brief introduction about myself, about my admission journey, the things that I did, steps that I took, my experience so far in grad school, and then step-by-step process that you can take as well if you're planning to do an MSc or PhD. Also, some things that you should look out for when you're submitting an application. And then I'm going to share some samples with us so that we can more or less have like a visual representation of all the things that I've said in summary. So just like we've heard over and over again, my name is Eunice Babatunde. I'm from Nigeria. I earned my BSc or Bachelor's of Engineering from Columbia University in 2018. I completed my Master's in Engineering from Texas State in the US in 2023 of August. And 2 weeks after, I started my PhD in Material Science, Engineering, and Commercialization at the same university. And why did I choose to continue at the same university? Well, first of all, the opportunity was there, funding was available, and I liked working with my professor. So I decided that why should I spend more time in a different school, spend about a semester trying to get familiar with the environment and all of that when I could just continue from where I was and keep making good progress. So that allowed me to more or less kickstart my research. Immediately I started my PhD. So rather than wait 2 semesters or 3 semesters trying to get my footing, I was able to continue my work seamlessly. So my passion for engineering has inspired my career path. And one thing I would say is it's important for you to know your story. It's important for you to know where you started from, what inspired your journey, and how you have grown over time. Because you cannot underestimate the importance of storytelling when you're writing your essays, when you're applying for scholarships. You want to be able to reach out, especially when you're looking for external funding, in fact. You want to be able to reach the emotions and the mind of the people that are going to be reviewing your essays. So if you're applying for a need-based scholarship, you want to be able to describe your process and your journey in a way that would more or less touch them and make them feel empathy for you. So if you don't have the details or you've not paid attention to your own process as a person, then you might realize that you have difficulties with submitting or writing this kind of application. Also, I would say that it would be very helpful that as you go through life and you make different progresses or you accomplish things, more or less just write them down, make a note somewhere. That way, whenever you need to recall, it's easier for you, right? And so you'll be able to bring in that pool of achievement and say, this is what I've done so far with my life. In all my aspiring to perspire, I've been able to do this. This is what I have to show as my investment in others, my investment in myself, my investment in people around me, right? So most of the time when I've applied for scholarships, I see that the funders want to know that you're not just all about yourself. What is the larger impact of the work that you do? What is the larger impact of the degree that you're pursuing? Even in SOPs, when you're writing that, what is the larger impact of your aim or desire to pursue an external degree? And so you need to know, what is your passion? How did this start, right? And like I mentioned earlier on, at the end of each level that I have taken or each level of my degree, I have had to review my goals and motivation before taking the next step, right? And so this has helped me to more or less be resilient whenever it's necessary, right? Because I know that at the end of my bachelor's degree, why do I want to get a master's? And so when I was seeing different kinds of challenges in my master's journey, I wouldn't say it's too hard, but when courses were more or less difficult than usual, or when the workload had increased, because over here in the US, I don't know about many other places, but we more or less do assignments every week. And then you still write 2 exams in the semester. You would do projects, do presentations. So there is a workload for every single class that requires you to keep working. And then, like I keep saying, or like I've said in the past, right, the bar is set really high in the sense that to get an A in a class, it has to be between 90 to 100. If you have 89.5, that's a B. If you have below 80, that's a C, right? And then if you have a C in master's or PhD, you basically have told them, I'm not capable of this program. So you only want to be between a B and an A. So you constantly have to shoot for the star. And so if you don't have the right mindset going in, you realize that you burn out at the middle. And even when you're stressed, you just like, how can I keep going? Right. And I'm not the kind of person to quit. I really don't like ending things in the middle of something. Right? I like seeing it through to the end, to the best of my abilities. Right. So I always make sure that I'm able to give it whatever it takes. So before I go into something, before I go into the next stage, I make sure that I know why I went in. And then I can ask myself, even whenever the question arises, why did I start this? And I'll find an answer somewhere at the back of my mind. Okay, next slide. So my application process, I started my entire journey of MSc in December of 2020. Yeah, 2020. I didn't necessarily have like a strong plan to say, oh, I'm going to do masters this year, like some people have, or they've been working on it for so long. And so I simply needed to visit the website, find out, okay, what are the requirements? And in my case, I only applied to one school and I got in and I came here, right? But I see many people apply to different schools, and that's not a bad thing in any way. I'm just saying that I was able to confidently apply to one school because I already had prior discussion with the potential research advisors. So even when one person didn't have space in his lab anymore, the other person was able to say, okay, we'll take you on and your research field aligns, right? So you want to make sure that you're familiar with the application requirements for that school. What are the deadlines? Oh, I shouldn't be telling you this. This is for the next level. So I'm talking about my own process now. So I more or less got familiar with the application requirements for the school that I was interested in. And then I took my exams in about a month. So I paid for GRE and TOEFL. GRE is the graduates, I think, requirement or something. And then TOEFL is the test of English as a foreign language exam. So just like you have IELTS for the US, I mean for the UK, TOEFL is for the US specifically. So I took these exams in a space of 1 month. I remember at that time I did not sleep. Me, I'm not sleeping. Anyways, so I more or less paid attention and just gave it my best. I didn't necessarily have the most excellent scores in my GRE because I mean, preparation time was very little, but I made sure that I had at least a passing score. So, and this goes back to getting familiar with the application requirements. I knew what the passing score was, and that's what I aimed to, get a higher than that score, more or less. So, like I also mentioned, I was able to reach out to potential research advisors, let them know that, oh, I'm interested in, working in their lab because this is my background, this is what is interesting to me, and I'd like to continue in that line, and this is where I'd like to continue. Now, in my own case, I was also able to get like a referral from someone in the school that was already working with one of the advisors. So it was simply a case of, oh, my advisor is looking for students for the fall. If you're interested, I know you qualify, you should also apply, right? And so that was the case for me. And eventually, I didn't even work with that person. I ended up working with someone else, like I mentioned. But it was a good, would I say, entry point, right? And that didn't necessarily give me any special privilege because if you submit a botched application, nobody's going to take you in, right? I've had professors ask me questions about people in Nigeria that have applied to their labs, and they're like, oh, Eunice, what do you think about this person's grades? Because they didn't get A's until their final semester. So far, they've been getting C's and D's and F's, right? And even though they have good work experience, that would say, okay, they have what's it called now? Enough industrial or industry experience to say that they can do good work. How am I sure that they'll be able to cope, right, with the academic requirements of sitting in one place to read, right? So these are some questions that have been asked before about people. And as to the best of my knowledge, I've given or the best of my ability, I've given advice to say, okay, well, maybe have an interview with this person and see where their mind is at before you make a final decision, right? But that's just a suggestion. Eventually, the professor is the one that's going to make the final decision. So after reaching out to the advisors and I said, okay, well, this is what I like to do, this is who I am. And then they said, okay, great. I have funding in my lab and I'm open to taking new students for the semester. So why don't you go ahead and submit your application? So when I did, I prepared my drafts, gave it to all my friends that I knew had experience with things like that. And then they looked at it, gave me feedback. Remember, I'm working in a 1 month period because I started my application end of December and applications were closing February 1st. So this was 1 month of doing everything and trying my best to make sure I was not slacking, right? So I wrote my essays, I reviewed the applications, I tried to make changes as quickly as I could, right? And then I submitted. So a few days after submitting, I received a positive response, thankfully. And then, the next step was to submit transcripts. But before submitting transcripts, I also made sure that, my test scores were available, my references were available, my application fee, was already paid. I think back then it was $90 I paid, and they weren't giving waivers yet. So different schools will have different circumstances or requirements, right? So after all of my submissions, I received my decision letter. The decision was also dependent on me sending the official transcripts to the school. So after they received the official transcripts, I was able to say, okay, go ahead and give my I-20. My I-20 was what I needed to say, this is the funding that the school is offering me, and then this is how much I'm going to pay out of pocket or based on family funds, and then go ahead for visa processing. So afterwards, I started to think about accommodation, traveling, and settling in. Now, for accommodation, I had to reach out to people that are already in the school to find out, okay, what exactly is the cost of living in this area? Is my funding going to be enough? Do I need to hold small change in my pocket? Or, is everything going to be fine? Am I going to be hungry for a few days? Is anybody available to give me a ride? And things like this were done based on reaching out to people. So you cannot be quiet when you're going to a new place. You have to be willing to reach out. Most of the things that I've been able to accomplish, it was by reaching out. You reach out when it's time to ask for reference letters. You reach out when you don't know something. You reach out when it's time to say, can you help me check this? Or this is a thought that I'm having. Can you confirm or decline or things like that? So if you're not the kind of person that likes to reach out to people, you have to learn to be confident and reach out. So that's basically the summary of my process. And I know you may have questions, so just please note them down. I'll take as many questions as I can at the end. So my graduate school experience so far, I've been able to access resources for personal and professional development, right? Like I mentioned, to be able to network with people, to be able to improve my presentation as a person, even my perspective of myself, right? All of this is also because of some of the investment that the school has put into me, right? Because they provide resources, they provide opportunities for people to meet each other, for you to develop, you get software that you can use, you have access to websites and all these kind of things. And so it might look, oh, like this is really small, or maybe even slightly insignificant. But then when you look at the bigger picture, you would realize how much you have grown from when you started to now when you are at some kind of milestone or finish line. And so the access to resources will be there. And as far as I'm concerned, though, from my experience, the school wants you to prosper. Yes, it's a business. Yes, they would also like to, what's it called now? Get people that pay school fees and everything. That aside, there's a large amount of money that goes back into buying instruments, getting supplies for research, making sure that students have access to career services and things like that. So it's definitely a good opportunity for you to improve on yourself as a person and as a career or as a career professional or whatever it is you choose to do in the long run, right? Also, it's essential to be able to take advantage of these resources. Like I said earlier, you have to learn to reach out. If you are quiet, if you are not constantly seeking, right, then you won't know that some of these things exist. There's so many people that have asked me, oh, Eunice, is this available? And I've been able to tell them, oh, yes, this is available from the school. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need to do this. This is there. That is there. Oh, this is free. Oh, just go there. Oh, just check this website. But imagine if they just kept it in their mind and they never asked questions, then they will never know that those resources are available. So you always need to reach out. I always say that the website of the school is your best friend. Google is your best friend. You need to learn to just type your seemingly stupid questions or seemingly not nice questions in the Google search. Something will show up. If you don't like the response you get, you refine your search. Something else will come, right? So you need to always be seeking, always be asking questions. That's the best way to improve on yourself. Also, My school has been able to provide support for external funding applications in the sense that they have an office dedicated to helping students apply for scholarships that are not funded by the school. So the school itself has like all this $500 scholarship, 2,000, maybe from like, endowments or people that say, okay, our child went to this school, so we want to support other students in this program, right? Beyond those scholarships, all the big scholarships where, I think there was one recently in my school that the students, 4 of them, were awarded $180,000 each. And by the time I looked at their profiles, they were all in the last year of their PhD. So like fourth year PhD students. So they just basically have like 1 year to work on research. But they have that funding that has paid for even the previous years that they are not owing school fees for anymore. Right. So they're able to do good research, good work. And it was this office that was able to assist them into getting all of those opportunities. And then again, this goes back to the point where I made earlier that you need to know your own story. If you want to write strong applications, ask yourself, what have I done? How have I volunteered? How have I contributed to other people? If you've not started doing these things, if you've just always been about yourself alone, the best time to start doing these things is now. Go and look for a charity organization to support. Go and look for an initiative to support or to start, right? Yes, let it align with your values. Nobody will say, oh, your values are not good values. But the question is, what do you stand for, right? What have you supported? What have you done beyond yourself, right? What are you passionate about? What are you committed to? And if you're going to show commitment for something, it's going to be through the things that you have done that we can see a track record for, right? Again, not all schools have this external funding resource. I know a friend of mine that moved from the school I'm in now to another school in Atlanta, and she was basically saying, well, she wants to apply for a scholarship, but our new school does not have this resource. So she basically has to use her own head to say, okay, is my application good? Is my application bad? And maybe ask 1 or 2 friends here or there. But then one benefit I see from the external funding office is that they know, like they've done their research on who is the person that is providing this funding and what are they looking for. Right? So that way they can tailor your application and give you positive or relevant feedback. Also, like I mentioned, there will be internal funding scholarships. Many schools will give you $500 for something, give you $100 for something. Those things are not things that you should let pass by. Don't let available money slip by. If you are qualified, apply for it. Right. I've also gotten exposure to diverse cultures and people. And like I mentioned earlier, good research experience. I've been able to try a lot of things that I never even imagined I would. There are so many analytical instruments that I can use now that I never even knew were relevant to my work in the first place. Right. Again, the bar is very high. You need to work hard, you need to work smart, and you need to be consistent. Now, there will be times where you feel stressed or feel down. That's fine. Also have good community around you to support you, right? But you need to keep working. You need to keep putting in the effort. And don't leave everything for the last minute. 20% today, 20% tomorrow, 20% next day. For 5 days, will give you 100%. Rather than you do 000 for 4 days and 100% on the last day. Then that's how you get burnt out. So you need to keep putting little by little, and then your drops will make a mighty ocean. Also, I find that more or less I've been able to improve myself from, where I was before. I mean, I was not necessarily a bad person in the sense that, oh, I didn't know this or I didn't know that. But the things I knew before, I've been able to refine them. The things I thought I knew, I've been able to either reconstruct my mindset or build upon them, right? And so most times now, I don't necessarily need someone holding me by the hand to make some decisions or to do some things, right? Because I've learned from experience, I'm able to take initiative. I'm able to say, okay, I know what my professor would like for me to do, so I can take initiative and hear well done at the end. right? Compared to before where I always have to ask questions. But don't be shy to ask questions. If you come to the US, you hear a lot of people say there's no stupid question, right? Is in Nigeria, I don't know about other places that you hear, oh, that's a stupid question. But over here, there's no stupid question. Your curiosity is exciting to them, right? Because it's your curiosity that will birth innovation. All right, so enough about that. I feel like I've spoken too much about this. Let's go into your own application process now. It's like what I discussed earlier. You have to get familiar with the requirements. Go to the website and find out what's necessary. So right now, what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you like a basic, what's it called now? A basic way of searching through the website. How do I escape from here? Okay. So let's say I'm interested in, the best example is my school. So Texas State University. This is the school selected. Now on the website here, you may be, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? This is the first place to go, menu, about academics, admissions. You're looking for admissions. Click on it, right? And then scroll down. Do I need information? This is not the first button you should click on. Why? Because you've not even looked at the site. Apply. Okay, maybe that's something there. But let me go down a little. Undergraduate. I'm not an undergraduate. Oh, graduate. Great. I'm looking at their programs, looking at their funding. I'm an international student. I need tuition fees. So at the programs that they have, what can I look at? Oh, they have accounting, they have this, they have that. They have aquatic resources. They have, let's do biology, for example. So if I'm interested in a biology master's degree, what are the requirements? They tell me about application process, application fee, the transcripts, your test scores, documents to submit, right? Again, it says for international students with international credentials, look on the international web pages. What are the decisions? They tell you like more or less the timeline, right? The timeline for the decisions. If you do not get into it before, like, can you reapply, right? They say, oh, firm deadlines, flexible deadline, priority deadline. They define everything for you. And this is the same thing you're going to find on every website. They will give you good information, but you need to spend time and say, what are these people looking for, right? I find out that most people, they don't necessarily know how to search for information. And so they end up asking questions about things that they should actually find themselves. Because if you go and meet anybody and say, oh, please help me to do this, help me to do that, or guide me through this, eventually the bulk of the work is still going to be on you. So you need to learn to find out for yourself what are the requirements, right? The online application. I'm here. Obviously, this is not where I want to go because I don't know anything about logging in. So let me go back to where I'm coming from and just see, oh, decision process, this and that, right? And you see many, many sublinks, decision timelines, rolling basis, firm basis. They define everything for you. They tell you your GPA for last 60 semesters is what we are going to use. If you earn this at this school, your GPA for 20 semesters, there's a lot of information, but you need to learn to search, right? So moving away from the website, let's assume you don't know the school you're looking to go through or the schools that you're interested in. Somebody said she's looking for programs around environmental sustainability. Okay, the first step, schools in the USA that offer environmental sustainability, MSc. When you look down, the first things you see will probably be adverts from different schools, right? Because they've done SEO, so their schools will come out first on the advert. But this alone are what? 1, 2, 3, 4. I should close some windows. What does that mean? So you already see 4 schools that even come up on adverts. And then this is a website that has even listed best master's degree in sustainability studies in the US. This is another list of schools, right? So you already have a wealth of information just by typing something that seems like, a basic question. Then you can now start streamlining. So you can even streamline your search based on, oh, I'm interested in X and Y state alone. I don't want to go where there's cold, right? I only want to go the place that is warm. Or I want to see snow, right? Or I want to go to a school that is not Ivy League because it might be too expensive. So I want to go to just state schools, right? So all of these things, you can check for the ranking of the schools. More or less, you streamline your search. But again, it's you that knows what you want, right? So you'll be the one to decide how are you going to design your search. Now, the next step, although I think, yeah, let me just go here. Like I said, get familiar with the requirements. You need to pick schools, you need to pick locations, consider ranking, consider research profiles, consider funding. Now, when I say ranking and research profiles, there's this Carnegie Mellon scale. No, yeah, Carnegie research scale. So there's a classification of institutions based on how intense their research work is, right? So you can look for a school. Let's say I'm interested in Abraham Lincoln University. This already tells me that it's in California and it's a private for profit. Now, private schools, everybody know everywhere that private schools are more expensive. So let's look for a public school that is, okay, let's do Texas University of Texas, Austin. And let's just search by that. What do you mean search? The school that I know. Okay, so there are many University of Texas. All of them are public schools. Let's look at the one in Austin. And you can see the profile of the school. It tells you for doctoral universities, so these people, they do very high research. For undergraduates, it's quite balanced, arts and sciences, right? They enroll a lot of undergraduate people. Their research is comprehensive and they have veterinary school, right? This is just one place where you can get a classification, right? So the schools are grouped basically on R1 and R2. Then you can more or less see for their doctoral universities, okay, you can search rather. R1 are those schools that have very high research activity. R2 are those that just have high research activity. So the school I'm in now is just high research activities, R2. But for R1 schools, they have a lot more funding. But obviously, the more money, the more that you are expected to produce in terms of what's it called now? Results, right? So just by searching for R1 schools, very high research activity, you can see all of these schools are very high research activity. And you can now also sort through here. Okay, I want a high research activity because I know there'll be funding. Okay, let me go to FIU. FIU has my program. Or let me go to Florida State or whatever the case is. So these are like just some of the ways you can look for schools based on different criteria and then streamline your search, right? So again, like I said, after you streamline your search, I don't think there's a need to apply to 8 universities. I feel like 5 universities are fine. If you write your applications well, if you do a proper search, right, you would be able to tailor your applications to get positive results. So if you don't apply properly, that's when you'll be getting rejection from everybody, right? So you'll be able to find out, okay, what are the specific dates and deadlines? What is the school specific information? Again, if you don't find something on the website, maybe you're not familiar with the website, you don't know where to look. Google is your friend. Just go ahead and type admission deadline for XYZ school. You will get a result, right? So get school specific information. Is funding available in that school? From looking at the website, some people tell you, we have funding, go to this website to see our funding opportunities. We have funding because we are able to do assistantships. Some schools will tell you, we don't have funding. There is no funding available. But you want to ask these questions. Again, if you're ever confused and you say, okay, I've looked on Google, I've looked at the website, I didn't see the information I need. Email the school, email their admission office, right? Reach out. People like it when you ask questions because they're able to help you. And you would also not get lost when you ask the right questions, right? Send an email. Hello, I was looking through your website and I'd like to find out if this and this. Can you please provide me a link or provide me more information as to what is what, right? So that's that. After you streamline, because you have information on dates and deadlines. Now, all these things, this step one alone, you can do that in 5 to 10 days, right? You can do all of this quickly. There's no need to waste time with it, right? You move to step 2. What is the timeline? Because now we're in October. Some schools have started taking applications. By November 1, some schools, their deadlines have closed, especially the ones that have a lot of applications and they're more like high-profile schools. Some schools, December 15, their deadline will close. Some is December 30. Some it's the end of January. Most schools typically have their priority deadlines like at the end of January. Some will take to maybe end of February, but that's very, very unlikely. By January 31st, most schools will not accept your application again for the fall semester. So you need to set up a timeline and set SMART goals. When do you intend to meet the requirements? What are those requirements for the schools you selected? Are there financial implications? Do the school offer waivers? In the sense that would they tell you, okay, well, if you can show us proof that you studied in English, there's no need to write TOEFL. If you show us proof that you have this and that GPA, then you don't need to do GRE, right? Or if you can tell us that this and this is happening in your country, then we can waive the application fee. I've seen people send requests for application fee waivers, and they have buttressed their point saying, well, my country has a bad economic status. Here and here are the facts. And they've gotten the fees waived, right? And I've seen people that paid $100 5 times, right? So the option is really yours. What do you want to do? But if you're going to pay application fee for every school, you also want to make sure that you're going to submit a strong application. So like I said, reaching out to potential advisors. Before you start submitting any application, talk to somebody in the school that has like your research, that has same research interest as you. Because if you just go and apply, I've seen someone that spent a full semester without funding. It was now later that he was looking for, oh, is there assistantship somewhere? Is there money somewhere? And then they come here and then they start struggling. You don't need to be in that position if you take the right steps, right? So cold email your professor, the person you're interested in. Some of them have LinkedIn pages that you can go and look at, and they would already have posted, I'm looking for a research student. This is how to reach me. This is the title of your email, blah, 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 right? Also, if you see anybody in the school that you are in, even they could be from your country, reach out to them, send the LinkedIn message, right? If you don't find their profile on LinkedIn, send them information on Instagram and ask them, oh, how can I get in your school? I see that you're in this program. This is what I'd like to do, blah, 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 right? So there's steps that you can take to make sure that you get the right information and you are not just throwing all your, what do I call it now, your resources at the wind, and then you come here and you start suffering or start experiencing hardship because you did not make the right plans, right? Except you have money somewhere, or you're a rich person, or you come from a wealthy background and you don't need funding, then that's a different approach, right? So again, you need to take your GRE and TOEFL if you find out that some of the schools that you're interested in require this. I've seen people that only look for schools that don't take GRE and TOEFL, right? So they say if the school is doing GRE, or if the school requires GRE rather, then I wouldn't apply. There are people that streamline their search based on that. So if that's an option for you, then the earlier you take it, the better, because the slots fill up. You have to book dates ahead of time, and then you have to write the exam and prepare. There are also resources for that, resources for preparing for the exam. That's another story entirely. So the second half of the process is now writing your application and reviewing your essays. Work with templates. There's so many templates outside. There's no need for you to, just go in blank. What have other people written before, and how can you also write your essays? Again, be original, don't plagiarize. I've seen people have their admission decisions rescinded because they saw that their essays were more or less similar to the essay of other people. Don't let that be you, right? Also, don't write generic essays. Don't just follow formats and say, okay, this is the problem. This is what I did before. Goodbye. Right? Let there be something unique about your story. Don't just say the world is hard and so what? Or the world is hard and then help me to enter your school. You don't want generic essays that are basic. You want something that is easy to read but very interesting and also shows your level of expertise, right? So get multiple reviews. I see people pay for reviews. I don't think you need to do that. You have friends that read and write in English. You have family that does this. You have professors from your school before. You have people that have gone through this process. Get them to review your essays. Get them to more or less help you through the process. You don't need to spend extra money if you don't have to. So afterwards, submit your document on time. There's no, oh, please help me, I'm begging you, because every other person has submitted on time. If you didn't ask for an exemption earlier for XYZ reasons, it just shows that you're not very well prepared or very well organized, right? So you need to submit your documents on time. If maybe your transcript is taking time, let them know, oh, I ordered my transcript. It may take some time to get to your office. That's fine, right? So the admission office, like I mentioned, is your first point of contact when you're confused. Send an email, let them know. I have a question. What is your number to do this for what is your number if I'm going to include your information in my GRE exam? What do I need to do? Or how many students are you taking this semester? Or is there payment for this? Are there waivers for this, right? Send an email whenever you're confused. Don't go around thinking, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I'm confused. And then end up in a situation whereby, don't end up in a situation whereby somebody is going to, no, let me rephrase my statement. Don't end up in a situation whereby you don't take action because you are confused. If you are confused, the first thing to do is ask questions, right? So all of the process I'm more or less explaining now is self-service. You have to do it yourself. Hardly will you see somebody say, give me money, let me do everything for you. Even the people that you pay for consultation, even the people that they will say, oh, we offer research support, they will not write your essay for you. They'll give you templates to go and write it by yourself. They'll give you websites to go and look for. And then how will you know that they're telling you the truth if you didn't even look for the information by yourself, right? And that's why you find some people fall into the hand of scammers because they didn't even do the search by themselves. And so they are misled. Somebody will tell you, oh, just bring money, I'll help you submit your application, I'll do everything for you. You now find out that the school you applied to never even existed in the first place. And it's story for another day. So Transcripts take time to get sent internationally. It might take about a week or two. Start early. It's also very helpful to have unofficial transcripts on hand so that you can submit that initially. And then after you get admission, then they'll say, okay, send us your official transcript, right? That's typically the process. So again, because you've already discussed funding, I don't think after you apply, then you should have much problem. Although I've seen people where they go ahead and then they talk to a professor, the professor promised them heaven and earth. Then by the time they got admission, drops them. That's a very unfortunate situation. But you also need to make sure that your work aligns with that person's research and the person is enthusiastic about taking you on, right? Because in this case that I'm describing, the guy studied architecture, right? And then by the time he was talking to a professor, the professor was working in civil engineering but with transportation background. So there's very little relationship between their work. So when it was time to replace or to dispense, it was easy to dispense. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you are dispensable as the first thing they want to remove from the list, right? So do your research, find out who is this person that can best support me, right? If you're going to say, oh, I'm making a career switch or a career change from one study or one, what's it called now, background or field to another, present a convincing argument. This is why I'm doing it. Maybe I've worked in this sector and I want to get more knowledge, right? So don't put yourself in a position where you're easy to drop. Fight for it by presenting the best of yourself, right? So discuss funding before you even apply. Ask the department again about funding and assistantships. If you don't see it on the website, or if you see things on the websites that is not clear, ask questions. That's fine, right? Also, ask about internal funding. They will send you the link. Most schools have websites where you can go ahead and apply for something. Sometimes it's 500, sometimes 1.5. But all of these things, before you know, they give you discounts basically, and you have more money in your hand because somebody has paid a portion of your fees, right? So the next thing is accommodation and travel or settling in. What is cost of living in the area? You need to compare offers. So I've seen cases where people get funding offers and then they're like, oh, it seems like good money. And why do you think it's good money? Well, because you're coming from another country, they spend a different currency. And then you think, oh, fantastic. But by the time you look at rent in the area, you're probably going to spend $800 on rent. This is not the case everywhere. I'm just giving an example. And then by the time you spend money for food, you spend $500 every month. This is an extreme case. And then on a monthly basis, you're spending 1.5, and that does not include any portion of your tuition that you have to pay. And then they tell you, okay, every month we're going to give you $1,000 and we will not pay 100% of your tuition. So you still have to look for money. In the long run, that's not a very nice offer, right? Because it doesn't really serve you. But what I've seen to be the case is most times when they give you low stipends, it's because they're paying maybe 100% of your tuition, right? So you have maybe enough money to survive, right? But this is also where external scholarships come in, because that way you use the external scholarship to support your need. Because trust me, there will always be need for this, need for that. But when you have external scholarships, it can support you and make your life easier. So you're not always thinking about money. Because trust me, when you don't have money, you always think about it. And you don't want to do that because you don't have enough space in your brain for thinking about things other than school. So again, reach out to alumni or current students via LinkedIn. If you find their name on LinkedIn and you send them a message and they did not reply after 3 or 4 days, or you see that, oh, this person's LinkedIn is not active, go and look for them on Facebook, go and look for them on Instagram, right? I don't know about Snapchat, but look for them on Facebook and Instagram, send a message. If they don't respond, move to the next person, right? You want to get a wealth of information. You don't want to come here and start saying, oh, how do I go about it? Or you'll be sleeping under the bridge. That's an extreme case, but you don't want to be homeless when you get here, or at least not have a plan. So you need to plan ahead. You need to be strategic. My mouth is paining me. So
Really?
making your application stand out. We're going to still look at like some essays, but I want to quickly finish my slides before we look at those. So making your application stand out. This is just going to buttress the point that I've said before. Don't be generic. Tell a story. Work on the flow of your essay, right? Limit technical jargon, but don't eliminate it, because you don't want to sound like you're telling stories to a 5-year-old, right? If you say that you have a background in XYZ from your bachelor's degree, obviously you don't want to oversimplify technical terms, because you look as if you don't know what you're doing now, right? And the point of your education is to refine you, right? So when you hear somebody talk, you can say, okay, this person is an expert in this field just because of the terminologies that they're using, right? I wouldn't talk about some things today the way I used to talk about it. I remember when I was like back in my undergrad, there's some ways I used to speak up, like, I don't sound like I know what I'm saying. I don't sound like I'm confident in this area or in this field just because of the way I explain things. But I noticed that the more I invested in myself, the better I got. So I could talk about structural design in a specific way, and you'd be like, okay, this person has some training, right? So let your training show in your essays, right? Again, discuss your contributions and the application of your work. If you've never volunteered in your life, ever, you've never helped somebody, please go and start now, because it will be very, very essential for the rest of your journey, right? You want to be able to say, I've done this, I've done that. Also, talk about the application of your work. Now, volunteering might not be so evident when you're doing your SOPs, but when you're applying for external funding and you're saying, give me your money, you will need to say, this is what I've done, and this is what I'll use your money to do, right? You will be interviewed. Get ready for it. You'll be interviewed for your MSc, you'll be interviewed for PhD. If you break it in the middle, they will interview you, right? If you decide to do PhD straight from the beginning, you'll be interviewed. And I know that when people do PhD straight as well, they take more credit hours. Like you'll be required to take more courses or classes. So get ready. It's not beans, it's not rice and beans, it's not bread, it's not cake, it's not butter, right? You would have to put in the work even from the start and even while you're in the program, right? But it gets easier. Does it? I don't know. It gets better. Let's put it that way. And then again, align your research interests by looking for the right professors. If you're saying, oh, I'm looking for this person's work, but you have nothing relating to them, they can't take you on because you offer no value to their team. So ask yourself, how can I offer value to this person's team? And how can they offer value to me as well? I've heard of somebody's story where the way they reached out to a professor was by telling them, I've read your work, I've seen what you've done, and here are some ways I think we can improve on them. That alone is a winning strategy, right? Because the person suggested simpler ways to achieve the result, faster ways to achieve results. If you're efficient, this is the person that will save me money. This is the person that is innovative, right? There are so many ways you can uniquely reach out to professors. Don't just write emails saying, please help me, I'm in need of you. I don't have anything to do, or I'm helpless. Oh, you don't want to go in with a beggarly approach. Yes, be humble in your writing, but let them know that you're coming to offer value, right? That way you have a strong point when you're writing your application. Okay, do I have more slides? Okay, yeah. Final takeaways and tips. Know yourself, know your story, and be comfortable telling it. Know the value of your schools and tailor your essays towards it. If your school is research intensive, your program is research intensive, you don't want to go and be writing things of, I'm not going to do research. I just want to get my degree. You don't want to write essays like that. If you're going to a research program, let them know this is the impact of my research. Even if you intend to go into industry later on after your work, say that this is how your research can impact your future career, right? Don't just write it anyhow, right? Again, the Google search bar is your friend. The school website will always be the most useful resource. It has so many hidden gems. You might not have time to look through it. That's why Google is your friend, because Google will direct you to that place where you're looking for something. Also, look for funding within your home country. My within is spelled wrongly. Can you imagine? Also, look for funding within your home country. There might be things like, how do I put it now? I've seen cases where people will say, oh, we're paying application fees for these people, this number of persons. We're helping you, this number of persons to pay for their flights. We're helping this number of persons to pay for their GRE exams, right? Those opportunities exist. Look for them. And that's why Twitter is even good, because they have a lot of groups and communities like that. Well, it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. So yeah, that's a good platform to get a lot of these resources and have open communication, right? Be comfortable with networking. You need people to go far, right? And this is not by just using people. Let your idea of networking be from the standpoint of offering value. Don't just say, gimme, 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 gimme. Eventually, people will get tired of working with you or talking to you if you never offer value to them as well. Before we do questions, I'm just gonna walk us through some samples of like SOPs and what's it called now? CV and everything like that. So let's see, which one is this?
Definitely.
Okay, this is for my
yes, okay.
PhD. That's not what I mean. So I'm looking for, yeah, so this is the one I submitted for my master's, and it's different from one I submitted for my PhD. Now we're going to read it together. I'll read it out loud. It's 766 words,
I
so
think
it's fine.
you should get water. Let me read on your behalf. Just be scrolling for me.
Okay. Hope your voice is nice.
I don't know. Let's try. Statement of
Okay.
purpose. The problem of water scarcity is one that affects almost every country in the world. In some places, water is entirely unavailable. In some other places, the water available is unfit for drinking, hygiene, production, and agricultural purposes. In Nigeria, where I come from, the story is not different. There are many communities with no access to safe water resources to support their lifestyle. Streams, wells, and other sources of water are exposed to fecal and chemical contamination. People have to buy expensive packaged water. At that time, how much was pure water? Was it 10 naira at that time or 20 naira?
It was like 5 naira, 10 naira. Nah,
Okay.
let's not even go there.
Okay, let's rest. Okay, packaged water, which doesn't even guarantee water quality. Those who cannot afford to buy packaged water are left with no choice but to drink and work with contaminated water, which negatively affects their health. I have always been interested in environmental protection and sustainability. However, I reached a turning point when I started taking water and wastewater engineering courses. I was able to gain insight into the challenges surrounding the world as it pertains to this subject, and I'm excited to learn that I could profile solutions to these problems. I've always been concerned with solving problems around me through research and innovation, and this was a determining factor in the choice of my undergrad in civil engineering. I developed a strong interest in environmental engineering, water and wastewater engineering, solid waste management, and project management through my undergraduate study. I took courses that enlightened me on the renewable nature of the Earth's water resources. These courses informed me of the need for sustainable water management practices because water is available in finite amounts and there are no substitutes. It was intriguing to learn that the treatment and reuse of wastewater could positively impact the environment by reducing environmental pollution, health hazards, and providing affordable and sustainable energy sources, nutrients, and other recoverable materials. I was excited to learn that I could be part of professionals that profile solutions to water-related issues known to mankind through participation in research and implementation. These, however, were introductory courses, and I discovered there is so much more to learn in the area of water and environmental engineering as part of civil engineering. Thus, I'm motivated to become part of the MSc in civil engineering at TSU. One significant research experience for me was my participation in the microbiological investigation of rainwater samples harvested from a community in Edo State, Nigeria. I think that was your paper that I read the other time, yeah?
Maybe.
Okay. The primary source of drinking water in this community is rainwater. Hence, it was essential to assess the methods of harvesting the water and the impact on community members, as this helped to profile solutions to the poorest of the poor in the region. Don't worry, I'm just kidding. On this project, I assessed people's characteristics in the environment and how water availability impacted their lives and economy. I also carried out extensive laboratory work, and I spent much time reviewing relevant literature. I investigated samples of microorganisms presence, microscopic identification of bacteria. This engagement increased my current interest in research and created a passion for creating solutions to existing global water problems. In the fourth year of my undergrad, I interned with a company that undertook the maintenance of lined canals in Lagos. I learned about creating management systems for water and wastewater resources. I also observed how solid waste management in a region could impact existing water and wastewater management systems. A degree in civil engineering from TSU would expose me to advanced resource management methods and techniques. I would be opportune to participate in cutting-edge research and learn ways to effect these principles in my own country. I'm not going to see you since that time, Sha. Texas State University is an institution that makes a substantial investment in STEM education and research. The institution boasts faculty and facilities that encourage student leadership and learning and research involvement through conferences and competitions. Additionally, the opportunity of making meaningful connections within the international grad student community proves invaluable. Upon completing my master's program, I would like to continue my PhD to contribute to the development of waste resource management systems and participate in further research to solve problems prevalent in society. I am confident that with diligence and determination, I'll make positive contributions to your university. I'm aware of what it takes to pursue a program such as a civil engineering program, and I understand I have to put in the work to be the best. I'm ready to take on civil engineering course and maximize TSU's unique opportunities. Interesting. Very interesting.
So do you think that's a good essay or not?
I think it's in my opinion, I think I should allow people to be able to unmute their mic at this point. Just a moment.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear what everyone has to say.
Yes, so I've granted unmute access to people. So you feel free to comment on the essay you just heard. What I would say, in my opinion, is it demonstrates a level of research in how you talked about water, right? Showing that the interest, how it connects to the environment, tells us what you did after your BSc, tells us how it was all connected to water. I was seeing a clear theme and a clear interest, right? More like I was seeing a clear motivation in your essay and properly like from motivation to action to what you have done and where that has led you to where you are looking to go. I think it was properly shown in your essay. Good essay. Good story. The way you talked about water made me interested in wastewater management, right? So that's it. Kosi Sochuku is raising her hand. Kosi Sochuku, you want to say something?
Somebody is using whiteboard to write my screen.
So wipe our board. Kosi Sochuku, you can unmute your mic and speak.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. What I
Hi.
The essay is a very nice one. Like you said, it showed the motivation. Also presents the writer as someone who has also done something in the field. So this person is mature, that you're coming to train or like spoon feed them. At least they've done some research, they've done some work in the field, and they are ready to do more if given the opportunity. So also kind of, how do I put it? It also shows that the writer has required relevant work experience in the field. So yeah.
Beautiful. Is this Kosi Chukwu that just spoke?
Oh, no,
Ogbona.
no, this is Kosi Sochukwani.
Ah, interesting. Okay. And we have another hand raised. Michelle Ramasale. Michelle,
Please,
you raise
let's
your
not
hand.
use more than 2 hours so that we can go.
Yeah, I think we just take
Except you
Michelle
like
and then
my
we move.
voice a lot. That's fine.
All right. So I just wanted to add that you showed ties to how relevant your research would be to your home country. And I think that's very
Yeah.
impressive
Okay.
because it shows that what done is going to be very relevant to like where you're coming from.
Okay, let's quickly move to the next essay. So this one, is this the final copy? I don't know. I don't think it's the final copy. Anyways, let's read it like that. So this is the one I think I submitted for my PhD. So let's see how my work has more or less transitioned from where I started from to where I am now.
All right.
I'm
It's a
not sure
privilege
this
to
is the
read
final copy.
your
Let's
PhD
see.
draft essay. Water quality is one such issue that plagues every nation of the world. This is because water is essential for the sustenance of human lives and the environment. In our society, water finds application in industrial processes, agriculture, ecosystem management, public health, and municipal systems. All of these require clean, potable water to function effectively. Hence, the need for water engineering cannot be understated. I've always been concerned with solving problems around me through research and innovation, and this was a determining factor in the choice of my undergrad and master's in civil engineering. Over time, I have developed a strong interest in environmental engineering, water and wastewater engineering, and project management, and these interests continue to drive my ambitions till this day. It has been intriguing to learn that I can become an engineer that provides solutions to water-related issues through participation in research and implementation. My master's degree thesis is centered around the remediation of nutrient-polluted water using water lettuce, an invasive aquatic plant. I like to think of it as a project that yields a dual advantage because it provides a viable solution to the problem of removing and handling the water lettuce, which in turn protects aquatic ecosystems by allowing native plants and fishes to thrive. It also presents a solution to the removal of excess nutrient compounds from water bodies, stormwater runoff, and from municipal and agricultural wastewater. Additionally, the spent material produced from the water lettuce finds application in agriculture as a slow-release fertilizer that nourishes plants and reduces the overload of soil with nutrients. It's obvious that you have been reading. The most common methods for the removal of nutrients from water involves the application of bacteria, which really removes about 50% of the target compounds. However, studies have shown that the application of biochar can remove 60 to 99% of nutrient compounds from water, depending on the characteristics of the biochar. The water lettuce naturally,
Charcoal.
biochar. Okay, the water lettuce naturally uptakes these target compounds in its life form. However, the rapid growth of the plant water in water bodies is problematic for several reasons. My thesis combined the natural affinity of water lettuce for nutrient compounds and transformed the material into biochar, thus increasing the physical and chemical properties for water treatment, even in its non-living form. My thesis work has produced promising results, and I believe that a PhD program in the material science, engineering, and commercialization program gives me the opportunity to further develop this material as well as improve it for industrial and commercial applications. I plan to not only contribute directly to research on nutrient removal, but also be involved in introducing these technologies to the market. My background in civil engineering and research has equipped me with the basic skills I need to succeed in a PhD program. I have taken classes that have improved my knowledge on the science of water engineering. I have been able to pass across this knowledge in my role as a teaching assistant for the environmental engineering class here at TSU. The PhD program in MSc at TSU would MSec would provide me with the environment resources, research experience required to contribute effectively to my goals and career as an engineer. Under the supervision of Dr. Wang, I'm pursuing collaborative work to create solutions to the poorest of the poor. I'm confident that with diligence and determination, I would make positive contributions to MSec and the overall goal of the university to become a leading research institution. I'm aware of what it takes to pursue a graduate program and understand that I have to put in the work to be the best. I'm ready to take on the MSec PhD and maximize the department's connection with many corporations and numerous research facilities and Texas State University unique opportunities. I hope that upon completion of my PhD, I'll be able to effect influential change. The MSec will provide a strong foundation for me to become a leader in bridging the gap between the poorest of the poor. I'm eager to discuss
research and implementation. It's not
I
poorest
know,
of
I
the
saw
poor.
it, I saw it. Discuss my research in transfer qualifications further. Thank you. Eunice Babatunde, EBS TV.
So you're not serious. You can see that in this case, because I'm in the same school, I didn't talk about my undergraduate degree. They already know that I've done undergraduates. They already know that I have a master's. Even though at this point, I think I was maybe a few months to graduation, right? I spoke more about my research and how I would tie it to my PhD program. I also looked at the program's desire or investment in commercialization aspect, and I incorporated that into my essay, right? Again, like I said, I'm not sure this is the final one I submitted. I don't remember, but this is a good enough example, so to speak. So, maybe let's take one or two comments from everyone here before we look at the next example.
All right. Anyone who wants to make a comment on how the essay has evolved from MSc to PhD after a few years of study? I would go and kick off to say that while you were someone who had basic interest and research experience at the beginning, you then proved to be someone who had done some work, right? Still having that same clear direction, but this time around with some level of result to build upon as a foundation for a PhD. And I think not only were you able to find a particular point of entry, you were also able to find an applicable avenue for what the school wants to do, how your research can be contributing to that fact, and how it can also be helpful for you. I think it's really clear. You move from thesis for the master's degree, using that as a proposal for PhD and whatever. I think there is clear demonstration of growth in critical thinking, clear demonstration of growth in and real life application or real world application of the use and value that you bring. And I think that's great.
Another thing is, at least that I noticed from reading, is the more streamlined the focus is. Rather than just say water as a whole. Now I'm able to say, okay, I know that this is a material I am interested in, and it's a material that has civil engineering application. So the material science and engineering program is suitable, or it makes sense, right? Because it combines material development for engineering application, and it can be commercialized, right? So maybe one or two comments before we move to the next example, so that we can leave here sharp.
Yeah. Any comments? If you have a comment, you could raise your hand. How the essay has evolved, etc., from MSc to PhD. Anyone? Okay, I think we can move. We have
Let's look
about
at
40 minutes.
this one. So this is a template, and I'm just going to quickly read this. This is one page. And this person says, having lived in India since I was 9 years old, I've noticed that new technologies take time to be introduced to the Indian market. There is a dire need to enable these technologies to come to the market faster than they currently do, especially in places like rural India. For example, solar cells have the potential to provide cheap renewable energy to those parts of the country which have limited or no access to electricity. In fact, according to a recent census in India, only 44% of rural households use electricity for their primary source of lighting. I plan to not only contribute directly to research in semiconductor devices, but also be involved in introducing these technologies to the market. The PhD program in material science in MIT would provide me with the research experience required to contribute effectively to this effort. Please, can we mute our mic? Okay. My education and research experience to date have given me a strong basis with which to pursue further studies. I've focused my academic career on taking classes in material science and physics, with an emphasis on electrical and optical processes of materials, properties. Given my sound understanding of subject matter, I was teaching assistant for the class on functional materials. Additionally, I've spent a large part of my undergraduate research conducting research on carbon nanotubes. Upon completion of an REU program where I developed nanotube thin films, I began working for Professor Kikawa at the University of Pennsylvania. So you notice the name calling, right? Under Professor Kikawa, I am pursuing collaborative work to contribute to create suspensions of carbon nanotubes using novel peptide surfactants. This person talks about their projects, basically. Now goes to talk about the school. MIT will provide the best fit for me to pursue research in this field. The university provides excellent facilities and resources that are essential for creative research. The PhD in XYZ will provide me the ideal academic and research foundation for my career. In particular, Professor Kimberly and Professor Graddyke, wow, have very fascinating research projects in semiconductor and this. So you can see that this person has listed the number of people they would like to work with on their application essay. So that's something you can also do. Add names if you've already spoken to people, if you see research that is interesting to you. I've always attempted to make full use of resources available to me in furthering my objectives. While at Penn State, I'm pursuing a degree in economics from the Wharton School, in addition to my engineering degree. This education will supplement my research and provide me with the knowledge of economics necessary to effectively bring new technologies to market. I believe that I have had a holistic education during my undergraduate career and hope that upon completion of my PhD degree, I'll be in a position to effect influential change. MIT's program in material science will provide a strong foundation, I hope, to gain from my PhD work to become a leader in bringing new semiconductor technologies to our societies. So you can see that all of these essays, they have like similar themes. They have some words that are, even familiar to each other or close by. But you cannot say this person copied from that person, right? Because the outline is different, the stories are different, everything is unique to the person, right? Even the word use and the sentence structures. So these are just things that you should note. Let's see, I'm also going to show a sample of the CV that I submitted for my program. Now, because I'm doing a master's and it was a research program, first of all, a summary. You probably might not need this. This was something I was using for job applications too. So this is not necessarily the CV I submitted when I was applying. But I have a summary here. You don't need a summary all the time, but it's helpful if you're looking for a job. Now, you want to outline your education, add your CVs, make sure the template is clear, provide enough information, right? If you have publications, write them. Include them at the forefront because that shows your experience in research. Include your projects, your skills, and your work experience, right? Have you volunteered before? Where did you volunteer? What did you do? What was your role? Simple, short sentences. What's your professional membership? What are the awards that you've got? So this is just a brief outlook on what a CV looks like. 1-2 pages is good enough for a start. Now let's also look at one recommendation letter sample. To the admissions committee of XYZ, recommendation for this person. I'm writing to recommend XYZ person for admission to your program. I've had the pleasure of knowing this person. She's commenced her master's program in engineering at Texas State. I have served as an academic and thesis advisor since then. Eunice has always been an impressive student, consistently achieving excellent grades. What sets her apart from other students is her passion and enthusiasm for problem solving. Eunice approaches her work creatively and analytically, which is what makes her a good engineer, scholar, and researcher. She's always eager to take on new challenges, and her inquisitive nature often leads her to pursue innovative solutions. Eunice speaks passionately about her interest in public health, this or that. Her master's thesis is this and that. I believe that the skills that she has acquired during the master's program is a good foundation for her PhD program. A PhD in this program will provide her a platform for this and that. Additionally, Eunice has displayed interest and ability to contribute to the body of knowledge by involvement in peer-reviewed research. She currently co-authored 2 peer-reviewed articles and has contributed 3 other articles currently under review. From working with Eunice, I have observed this and that. She shows great leadership potential and has no trouble combining multiple tasks as long as it brings her to her goal. She does XYZ extracurricular. She's involved in XYZ community at Texas State. She has contributed as a member, this and that. During her master's program, she was awarded this and that scholarship, which will contribute, recognizing her contribution to society and the relevance of her future research, the present day challenges relating to water quality issues. These are ambitious and hardworking this and that. Basically, you want to have someone write you a strong recommendation letter. If someone is writing you a recommendation letter, let it be obvious that they believe in you, right? Don't, maybe even let them share their drafts with you or provide them with like enough information to write good letters about you, right? Don't let someone write a recommendation letter if they don't like you, right? That is shooting yourself in the foot. So with that being said, I'm going to take any questions that we may have now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was...
I saw some questions in the chats.
Thank you very much. I am going to have to say that was really intense. I think we've spent the last 2 hours going through a lot of content, and it's been, your cut is pretty golden. Well done. That was a really detailed presentation from scratch, right? I like the demonstration. I think it was pretty interesting to see how you transited from the master's to the PhD and the thinking behind it and the work that has gone into all of that. But I'm going to allow the people put forth their questions now, because I think we have 5 minutes before we close this session. Yes. So there was a question that was dropped earlier. I think it was be personal. I think Dana was asking, she was like, does the PhD allow you to continue your personal plans like marriage and kids, those kind of things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know so many people that are doing PhD now that they already have children and family. Some of them are international students and they brought their family with them, right? They brought their husband and their, what's it called now? And their child or their children. And amazingly, there are even scholarships for people doing PhD that have families. You see how we're going, right? So one is not an hindrance to another. It all depends on how you approach it. Yes, a PhD is rigorous work, but you cannot always spend every single minute in your lab. I told myself, despite the fact that I'm doing a PhD, I'm going to make sure I use my rent. So I must come home every night. Even if I stay in the lab one day till 8 or 9 p.m., I must come home and sleep in my bed. Why? Because I paid my rent, right? Another thing is, if you plan your time properly, plan your work, you can estimate how much time is it going to take for me to complete this task. Can I break it down into two? Give yourself an early start in the day. Go to work by 8 a.m. Go to work by 7:30, so that when it's 5 or 6, you can leave. And why is that? Because you've properly planned, these are the things I'm going to do today. This is how long it's going to take me, right, to do this experiment. I know people doing PhDs that they're not in the lab. So it's as if they're even working from home. They just need to write surveys, do research, ask people questions online. So the structure of everybody's PhD program is different, right? So you need to ask yourself, what's the structure of my PhD program? What is required of me? And how can I keep balance? As I go to church every Sunday. I also go on Tuesday evening. I make sure that I still talk to my friends. Sometimes I spend hours on the phone with them. There has to be balance. If there's no balance, you will burn out. And then you don't want to have a life where after you've gotten all your degrees or you've finished school, you don't have any friend, you don't have anybody to even celebrate with or to come to your graduation. You don't want that kind of thing, right? So it's essential to keep balance. Yes, it's rigorous. Yes, it's demanding, but there is life beyond PhD. Even if you spend 7 years doing PhD, the 7 years will still finish. And then what next? Right? So you also need to be future thinking in your approach to life. I hope that has answered questions.
Yes, I think that answers. I think there's one more question. While I read that, I think just to put one side comment.
So before we end up because of graduate study.
I'm telling you,
There are people
like,
that immediately they finish graduate study like this is, will you marry me?
exactly. So
So
the person is saying, is it good to use AI to review essays?
you can use AI to refine your essays,
Refine.
but don't say AI write essay for me, and then you copy and paste and go and submit. A lot of these schools, some of them are now checking for the use of AI,
Yeah.
right?
I saw an application that
So
was rejected on that ground.
exactly. So make sure that even if AI is providing some level of structure to you, AI cannot tell your story, right? All these essays that we read, they are all personal. They're all based on your experience. They're all based on things you've done, right? And then there are some words that it's just obvious that people don't use those words. When people hear you speak, they don't hear you say preposterous. You're not going to write preposterous in your essay. They will not be like, you sure say this person that wrote it, because you wrote preposterous, you wrote amalgamating, you wrote boom, 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 all this big grammar. It does not sound like it's a human being that wrote the essay. So there needs to be the personal touch.
Yeah.
Even if
So we
you're
have,
using AI to create
yeah.
structure, refine it. And AI sometimes they will write rubbish for you in the middle of the essay. I've seen cases where I tell, ChatGPT to give me some feedback. And then you just find out that it has repeated the same thing 3 times in the same essay with different English. You now be like, but you already passed this message, right? Why are you not saying it again and again and again and again? Sometimes it will even be the same words. Imagine taking that kind of essay and going to submit it. So there's some feedback I get and I just dismiss because it's not even useful to me. It's better that I write my thing myself, right? But it's a good place to start if you're stuck.
I think it's good, like you said, to have structure. Yeah, that's very important. Kosi Sochuku's hand is raised. I think that's the last question for the night. Kosi Sochuku, your hand is raised. You can unmute your mic.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this insightful session. So my question is, while I wrote an SOP for myself, and I was trying to check for AI related text just to compare. And it's telling me that my text, like 21% resembles an AI drafted text. And another question I have is, how do you deal with something like that when you didn't even, bring AI into the picture when you were writing your essay, and all of a sudden you're having 21% AI lookalike? And also, like, if you have like a tutu or something like that, but you have work experience and publications, how do you throw more light on your work experience and your publications and kind of throw a blanket over your grades, kind of? Thank you.
So first, with the AI question, I know that recently some of the issues that, have been discussed in academia is, yes, we're saying students are using AI, but is that really cheating? Number one. Number two, even if they don't use AI, would we now say that every smart response or every good presentation is AI generated, right? So if you submit something to a checker online and say you have 22% AI written, I would say maybe if you're the kind of person that say, oh, I want 0% AI response, then use synonyms, right? Just replace words. Sometimes remove a comma from one place and put it at the end of another place, right? That might help. But I mean, if you have 20% response, that might not be a problem. Again, if you're very, very good with writing, sentence structures, grammatical, you have all this proficiency, right? Eventually, you produce good results, and somebody can see it and say, well, this is AI. Like, I think there was once an argument that said, oh, people don't use Delph when they talk, when they, speak. And then Nigerians were like, Delph is a small word, Delph that we use every day, right? And then sometimes, even when you go to a class, the first thing is, okay, let's delve into this, right? Would we now say that because we said Delph, we are AI? No, so there'll definitely be overlaps. So don't let it be too concerning for you. And if anybody challenges you, you can always show them your drafts, show them, your process. That's why it's good to keep evidence or record of your essays that you've refined and everything, just in case anybody challenges you. You say, this is my evidence, I've worked on this, right? So I think the second question was if you have to. My advisor always tells me, if you are presenting something, don't include things that you don't have answers to, right? And what I'm trying to say is emphasize your strengths. If you emphasize your strengths, the value proposition that you are presenting, right? Then it will be easier to say, okay, yes, so this person might have a tutu, but we know that they have evidence to show that they're a good worker, they're dedicated, they are involved in this and that. In all the SOP that I submitted, I did not mention anything about my GPA, right? And I did not have 5 points from my undergrad. Even from my master's, I didn't have 4.00, right? People just want to see that, yes, you've done good work, right? And as much as you can say, oh, you've done good work, there are some minimum requirements. And that's why I tell people also, whatever opportunities you have, don't waste them, maximize them, right? Some people will tell you, oh, yes, you have good record, but the minimum requirement for everybody is XYZ GPA, right? So even though we like you, we can't necessarily take you on just because you don't meet the minimum requirements. But that shouldn't be a deterrent for you. If you see a school you like, apply to it. What are their minimum requirements? It doesn't matter too much. Present your best foot forward, expect the best, spread your nets far and wide, right? And don't let anything discourage you. I don't think a tutu is such a terrible result, right? Especially like you said, you have publications, you have like work experience. So depending on the program you're applying to, those things might be more important than your previous GPA. I hope that answers the question.
All right. Thank you very much, Eunice. I think that was all we can take for now, guys. I know this is be one of those days you get to spend with yourself and catch up with things, and you have taken out the time to be with us today, and we really do appreciate. The recording for this session would be uploaded on our YouTube channel. We already shared some links in the chat box, and also we'll be sharing some more on the groups on some of the resources that Eunice shared, like the Arrow 1, Arrow 2 school list, etc., that you could go through for US-based institution to see the intensity of research done at each school. That will be it for tonight. Can we just appreciate Eunice? Can everyone just react with clapping emojis, love emojis, blah, blah, blah. Also connect and follow Eunice on LinkedIn. Yes, that's the kind of rocket, engineer Eunice. Soon we're going to remove engineer. Okay, we're going to add doctor to the engineer. So doctor, engineer, Eunice. So we'll just keep going. Okay, cool. Connect to Eunice on LinkedIn. I'll link, the link to our profile is in the chat box. And if you have any questions, you can send directly to her, etc. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. Eunice, thank you for coming out tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night, everyone, and enjoy my sign out music.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.